Welcome. My name is Thomas Benjamin, Senior Project Coordinator at Rutgers University's Center for Research on Ending Violence. Today, we gather to discuss how we can support individuals, organizations, and institutions working to address campus interpersonal violence, and tools that we have developed through the Enhancing Victim Services Throughout Rutgers University initiative. I'm joined with guests from the Center on Research on Ending Violence. I'll let them introduce themselves and share what they do at the center.
Hi Thomas, I'm Sarah McMahon. I'm the director of the Center for Research on Ending Violence, and I'm a professor at the School of Social Work and glad to be here today.
Pleasure to have you, Sarah.
Hi Thomas, my name's Simone Snyder and I'm the university-wide faculty and staff training coordinator.
So glad you're here, Simone.
Hi Thomas, I'm Rachel Connor and I'm a senior program coordinator for campus climate research and evaluation, and I assist with evaluation on this project.
Thanks for joining us, Rachel. Sarah, could you share a little background on the Enhancing Victim Services project?
Sure. So this project was an 8-year initiative that we had at Rutgers that allowed us to strengthen our programs, our policies, and our education and services related to interpersonal violence. And by interpersonal violence, I mean behaviors such as, but not limited to, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, harassment, and other forms of discrimination and harm, and also their intersections. And the project was supported by a Victims of Crime Act grant that was administered through the New Jersey Office of the Attorney General, and we are really grateful that we had that support over the years because it allowed us to do quite a bit, which we're here to talk about today. So the project allowed us to grow both our prevention of and response to interpersonal violence. And at the core of the project, we used a whole school approach, which means that everybody has a role to play in helping address interpersonal violence. And not only do they have a role to play, but that we really need them to be engaged in order for us to be effective in our effort. And so along the life of the project, we developed several resources or technical assistance to support and engage our community members in the work. And these resources were about best practices as well as innovative approaches to the work. And we collected these resources and have put them on an online portal, which is our resource hub, in which we're here to talk about today. And we're hopeful that others will be able to benefit from the lessons that we've learned. It's really important in this work to be able to collaborate with other institutions and others doing this work. So we're glad to have the opportunity to share this through our resource hub.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Simone, could you explain how and why the resource hub was created?
Sure, I'd love to. So we created the Rutgers Addressing Interpersonal Violence on Campus Resource Hub to act as a central platform to provide training and technical assistance for professionals in victim assistance and higher education. Technical assistance, sometimes called TA, refers to providing expertise, resources, and support to build capacity in specific areas. So the Resource Hub offers a variety of resources such as training workshops, toolkits, infographics, webinars designed to educate professionals on important topics like bystander intervention, responding to student disclosures, and best practices for supporting survivors. So these tools aim to empower professionals with the knowledge and confidence to foster a culture of care and support on their campuses, making the Resource Hub an essential instrument in facilitating this culture of care for survivors of violence.
A culture of care, that's powerful. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Sure. So creating a culture of care on campus means fostering an environment where students, faculty, and staff feel safe, supported, and valued, especially when facing violence or trauma. It emphasizes empathy, respect, inclusivity, with a focus on addressing the needs of survivors. In this culture, individuals are encouraged to seek help without fear of judgment, and those in support roles are equipped to respond with sensitivity and effectiveness. Through its toolkits and technical assistance, the Resource Hub reminds campus members of the crucial role they play in fostering this culture by raising awareness, providing practical guidance, promoting consistency, and empowering them to act with confidence. And so the idea here is to help institutions evolve their practice to prioritize equity, care, and enabling all individuals, especially survivors, to thrive.
Excellent. Thank you, Simone. Sarah, could you expound on the different components of the Resource Hub?
Sure. So as we were saying, the Resource Hub is this online portal, and we've thought about it as having sort of these 4 different categories, which we'll talk about today. So the first is around victim or survivor services. The second is about faculty and staff training and resources. The third is about educational and prevention programming, and the fourth is around evaluation.
And regarding that first aspect of victim and survivor services, colleges and universities typically will have a counseling office on campus for students. Can you explain why it's beneficial to have an office specifically for victims and survivors of violence?
Sure. So, counseling centers provide really important services regarding both the emotional and mental health needs of members of our community. And victim assistance centers provide an extra layer of care by being really specialized centers or offices related to interpersonal violence. And so the victim assistance centers have sort of different names and look different based on the campus where they live. At our center at Rutgers, we have our violence prevention and victim assistance centers, which are standalone offices, and they provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week crisis intervention. They provide trauma-informed counseling. They also provide advocacy services, which means helping people navigate different systems, whether it's healthcare or whether it's the legal system. For example, someone might need to be accompanied to court or have help with filing a restraining or protective order. It can also mean helping navigate resources on campus if somebody needs accommodations based on their victimization related to an academic department or their employment. Victim assistance centers, including ours at Rutgers, also engage the larger campus community in prevention and education work to help try to build this culture of care that Simone was talking about.
Victim assistance and survivor support centers on campus, they certainly seem like a valuable asset for institutions to have. Could you elaborate on what trauma-informed care is?
Sure. So trauma-informed care is a term that's commonly used, but it's not always well understood. A trauma-informed campus means that every aspect of the institution, its policies, its programs, its procedures and practices, they all are informed by an understanding of trauma and its impact. And the goal is to make sure that survivors feel safe, that they feel supported and empowered, and also that re-traumatization is, that risk is minimized. And so that's where we come back to the whole school approach, and we need to engage others in this effort as well to be a trauma-informed campus. So, for example, we would need to make sure that faculty and staff have training so that they can both identify and respond to trauma in ways that are supportive and effective. Being a trauma-informed campus also means that the university not only provides services for survivors, but that they're accessible, that they're confidential, that they're culturally responsive, and that people know how to find them, that they have an awareness of them. Part of that is also making sure that the right people are staffing victim assistance centers, which in some places are standalone offices, other times are part of a counseling center or part of health services. But the people who are working there need to have a specialization and deep understanding of interpersonal violence and how to work with people who have experienced that. So our resource hub does provide some guides that can help people who are interested in developing victim assistance centers.
And how exactly does the Resource Hub help in establishing those types of programs and offices that will render services to victims and survivors of violence?
Sure. So the Resource Hub has a few toolkits on establishing an office of victim assistance, as well as information on staffing the Victim Services Office, and also promoting the wellness of the Victim Services staff.
And you earlier mentioned faculty and staff resources. I understand another component of the Resource Hub is faculty and staff resources. Simone, as the faculty and staff training coordinator on this project, can you tell us more about why that's a focus area?
Sure, I'd love to. So during the first year of the project, we identified a significant gap in our programming. And while we were engaging in intentional efforts to reach students, we realized that we were not engaging faculty and staff in really meaningful ways. And so to address this, and with the help with many campus partners, we created the role of the faculty and staff training coordinator. And so this person focuses on providing tailored training and even consultation to academic departments and individuals who are interested in addressing issues like sexual violence, dating violence, stalking, and supporting survivors on campus.
So I understand we have student programming, but we also have faculty and staff training. And what makes faculty and staff training different from, say, student programming?
Yeah, great question. So faculty and staff differs from supporting students and student programming in that it focuses on empowering campus employees to act as informed allies and advocates. And so while both types of programming often emphasize things like bystander intervention, faculty and staff training expands on this by addressing the unique roles campus employees play in shaping student experiences and campus culture. And so faculty and staff are actually often the first person that a student will go to when they experience violence or trauma, and training ensures they feel confident and also prepared to respond appropriately and connect that student to resources. It also acknowledges that sometimes faculty and staff may be experiencing their own issues related to violence and trauma, and so we help to offer tools to support both helping them to support not only students but their colleagues and also their own well-being as well. So because faculty and staff also influence policies, leadership, and just daily interactions, engaging them through tailored training helps to institutionalize a supportive and trauma-informed approach across the campus.
Thanks a lot, Simone.
Of course.
A third area of the Resource Hub focuses on education and prevention programming. Can you all share about what we can expect to see there on the Resource Hub?
Sure. So one major component of our violence education training is, you've heard me mention it a couple of times now, bystander intervention. So for instance, our resource hub includes literature on a social justice approach to bystander intervention that's outlined in the Rethinking Prevention Programming document that you can find on the hub. This approach expands the understanding of intervention by addressing not only interpersonal violence, but other forms of harm and oppression. So things like sexism, racism, homophobia, and ableism, just to name a few. The goal here is to equip campus members with the skills to recognize and disrupt harm in all its forms, fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment. In addition to bystander intervention, programming may include awareness events, book clubs, panel discussions, presentations that work to deepen the understanding of violence and its impacts. These initiatives encourage critical conversations about the root causes of violence and promote community building as a strategy of prevention. Ultimately, the Resource Hub aims to provide adaptable, evidence-based resources that empower campuses to create meaningful and sustainable change.
Thank you, Simone. That certainly seems like a thorough implementation of, say, the whole school approach through the faculty and staff resources. Sarah, does the Resource Hub address any virtual programming that institutions may want to institute?
We do provide resources on that. It's been obviously, a topic that's been receiving increased attention over recent years, and our Resource Hub does offer guidance on transitioning in-person programs into online or virtual platforms. And our resources here also look at issues such as language and technology accessibility, privacy when you're engaging in a virtual platform, and how to engage an online audience.
Thanks, Sarah. I also understand that there is an evaluating victim services component on the Resource Hub. Why is evaluation such an important part of addressing campus interpersonal violence and creating a culture of care?
Sure. Well, in addition to having the programs and services that we've been talking about today, it's certainly important to know if they're working and for whom and how they can be improved. So evaluation is a critical part of the model and has been an instrumental part of the initiative over the last 8 years. And Dr. Connor is here to provide more information about the types of resources that we have related to evaluation.
Thank you. Pleasure to have you, Rachel. What is your role on the Enhancing Victim Services Project?
So I am the evaluation coordinator, as Sarah mentioned, and in that role, I assist the victim assistance offices across Rutgers with collecting, analyzing, and reporting data related to the services provided. So who's receiving the services, what type of services they're receiving, and why they're seeking the services, what violence they've experienced. I also assist with client satisfaction surveys and evaluation of training and programs that those offices provide. I just want to emphasize, as Sarah mentioned, this is really important to collect data and evaluate your programs and services. It helps demonstrate the value of those offices, as well as you can see what's working and you can tweak and refine what you're doing, the programs and all that.
So those violence training workshops that Simone earlier mentioned, the training experience that can be quantified?
Yes, we like to provide reliable data on what training participants are learning, so what they've learned from those workshops, whether that has increased their awareness. Also information on engagement with those programs and reach, how many people are attending those, how engaged they are. And this type of information can be used by the offices to tailor their programming, as well as demonstrate value to stakeholders, institutional leadership, as well as funders.
Great, thank you. People do like metrics.
That's true.
Could you share with us how the Resource Hub can help a campus victim assistance office in its evaluation efforts?
Sure. So the Resource Hub offers a few things that can help these offices get started. So as I'm sure you're aware, Thomas, there's different ways of evaluating services. So you could do a survey, you could use data you already have, administrative data that you're collecting just as a byproduct of providing the services, and also you could do some kind of observational research. So I think one problem that can occur is some programming is just visual. It's a visual display. People are just walking by it. And so there might be a challenge on how to measure awareness or impact of that programming. We have a program like that here, the Clothesline Project, where clothing is hanging from clotheslines, and it's designed to increase awareness of survivors of violence. So the Resource Hub actually offers a resource with suggestions on how you can measure awareness and impact of that type of program.
Wow, thanks, Rachel. Well, this certainly seems like such important work, complex work, and I'm so glad that you all have created a resource hub to help us in that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sarah, Simone, and Rachel, for showing us what the Resource Hub is and how we can use it to address campus interpersonal violence, as well as implement a whole school approach. And thank you for joining us on how we can support the work.